Hi, this is Mike Hogue of Lily House Permaculture, and today I'm coming to you from suburbia. Okay, well, we all recognize the forms. It's these ubiquitous big box store materials, these landscape bricks, landscape pavers that are made out of energy intensive concrete. The same five non native, pretty pointless plants. He usually planted into the wrong place, poorly cared for. They almost always look sickly. And you see these needlessly curvilinear forms, usually with no even attempt at symmetry or design. Big piles of moved earth, usually with real no thought to landscape hydrology or function or form or anything like that. You'll often see these just big pointless hills in the middle of parks because movers had some leftover dirt to just dump, and they just dumped it someplace. These are kind of the forms that we're all familiar with. But how do we get here? I mean, this is a complete disconnect from the history and traditions of landscaping and gardening aesthetics. It's a really complete break from what we used to have even 50 years ago. I mean, I get it. It's what you see in almost every sector of the economy. See, this kind of thing evolved because it was easy for manufacturers and big corporations, and they just kind of pushed it through their salespeople, and it became what was standard to do. The benefit here is that it allows big corporations and centralized entities to make all the decisions for us and this offer solutions for our lives, and that saves money on expertise. It allows us to use low expertise, low-cost workers and installers who know absolutely nothing and don't even care about landscaping, gardening, plants, or even lawns, and offers them to market a saleable product. What the consumer gets out of it is one thing: conformity, the ability to simply and easily afford to conform to community aesthetics and ideals. The downside, of course, is that we're giving our money to centralized corporations instead of developing social capital in our own communities. Now, I don't want to be too harsh on it because although this park looks pretty much like a lot of the parks that you'll find all across America right now, and its specific kinds of detailings, and they did a really nice job with this one, and I really want to congratulate the people who designed and installed this. They did a wonderful job, but is really doing a great job of using money like this in order to invest in the local economy, create jobs, and create green space. And I know that the people here really care about environmental concerns too. And I don't think this park fully matches with their values. I think they could make a couple of changes and get something that was really going to match their values better and really reflect something that's truly sustainable and ecological and is going to build wealth for the community and not create something that's going to require continued maintenance. All right, so first I'm going to talk about the things that I really love that are going on in this park.
It's not a McMansion! No, seriously though, the workers who did this park at least did a really good job at what they do.
And now we're going to look at some of the things that I really think could be done better and that would make this little park really match the community character and values of the people who live here better.
Now, my biggest concern with this site is the sustainability, which you can see in the materials, the plant choices, and the overall design.
First of all, if you look around at the materials used here, they're almost all industrial concrete.
And these kinds of materials are bad for the environment and bad for the economy. According to the U.S. government, the cement industry is the most energy intensive of all manufacturing industries. According to Columbia University, this one industry alone accounts for 5% of annual global carbon emissions. I used comparable products and two different methods, and I estimated that it would take a comparable sized forest well over 100 years, in fact probably hundreds of years, to offset the amount of carbon from just this one installation. And it probably only has a life expectancy of 30 years.
Next up, look at all of this lawn. Lawn requires frequent mowing, which uses oil. It infiltrates almost no water, which overburns the stormwater system. Usually requires chemical to maintain. And none of this does anything for the human or wildlife communities. Next up are these pointless earthworks and earth contouring. These do absolutely nothing other than ensure that water is going to end up in this wasted in the stormwater system, and that plants aren't going to be able to get the water that they need. It virtually guarantees you're going to have unhealthy plants. Look at this juniper here, which has like about a square foot of soil for its poor roots to get into, and all the water is going to just be flowing off of this thing. Which brings us to wrong plant, wrong place. It's the same 5 landscape plants planted in circumstances that they're not going to thrive in. They always look terrible, but how they look doesn't matter. The point of them is the conformity. They're a product that you install to demonstrate the conformity there. It doesn't matter if they're healthy or look good. Take these crabs, which are almost always in the wrong place, and that's why they look so terrible. Look at this one suckering because it's so unhealthy. That could be because of all of these mulch volcanoes, with mulch consistently piled up around the bark of the tree, causing it to rot and have damage, as in this case. Ironically, a lot of times parks like this and green space like this gets included in design because it is green space and is supposed to bring the benefits of green space. But a park like this has no benefits in terms of water, in terms of plant diversity, in terms of supporting wildlife or the humans in the area. And this doesn't even really support any kind of social function either. But a park like this is more than just a wasted opportunity. It also causes harm. It pollutes our water, it spews carbon into the atmosphere, it's bad for wildlife, and it's bad in that it reinforces the economic and social problems that are distorting our communities. It costs taxpayers money needlessly and ships our money outside of our communities instead of keeping it local. So if this is what the problem looks like, then what does the solution look like? What are the alternatives? First up in the category of least worst is the sustainable park paradigm. This doesn't go far to make parks regenerative, but at least it improves the harm by making them more energy efficient, using longer lasting materials, and preserving natural areas. And at this point, we have a few beautiful models in America to work off of. Speaking of models, we have many historic models of infrastructure and public space that have lasted for millennia. Why not copy some of those? And when it comes to plantings, we also now have some great models to work off that can help us ditch the lawns and bad plants. That includes this post-wild idiom that we work off of in Lily House. This has been adapted to public places all over the world already. In fact, look at these images. Not only are the plantings beautiful, but the paths are made of sustainable, local materials. They look naturalistic. They integrate public space well, social functions. Why not do this? Or better yet, why don't we do something that's post-wild but inspired by Michigan's native ecologies, where we naturally get forest if we let nature do as she will. We could even plant oaks like this one here, though I'm not a native plant purist myself. And we even have plenty of models available to us if we want to turn these little parks into big opportunities to clean air, clean water, fight climate change, sequester carbon, build skills and economic opportunities in our communities. So if you have a role in planning these public spaces, don't just go with what's easy, think big and make the most out of this opportunity.